We're live on the camera.
Pretty hot down there, huh?
Now it's like 10 degrees cooler.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like 103 where Peyton lives.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
Yeah, so
graduating?
yeah.
Who's graduating?
Say it again.
Is someone graduating? Somebody saw it in your email?
Yeah, my daughter-in-law Emily.
Nice.
we're good. Sorry, yep.
All right, we're gonna start, Monica.
Okay, go ahead.
Morning, today's May 16th, 2025. Welcome to the Troy Community Land Bank Executive Committee meeting. We will start with the roll call. Brian Barker.
Here.
James Mager here. Suzanne Spelling is absent, and Monica Kuzieski is here via phone. We also have Brad Lewis and Paul Don. Start with, you still have to work on it?
Yeah, we're gonna table that.
We're gonna table the approval of the meeting minutes for January and February, and we did not have a March or April meeting.
Yep.
So we'll just jump right into our discussion items for the regular meeting on Wednesday.
Yeah, so essentially, the big thing that we have right now is to just for this meeting is to talk about the upcoming board meetings so that we're all prepared for the items that we have. There's no other large questions to address or discuss. I'll start with the good news, which is that we're closing at 791 on Thursday.
Yay!
Yeah,
So he's gonna have to take us.
and
You're out for dinner.
yeah, so that
Did we make a bet?
I just told him when this is all done. I'll go out for dinner.
yeah, so it's really exciting. And wouldn't you have it? I think the insurance on the building's up. You have to pay for another 6 months of insurance. You close on Thursday. So,
Yeah, you get it.
no, I don't think so. That's not this big a one. It might not be the greatest insurance policy we ever had, but it's the same one we've had. And there's no way, yeah, there's no. I'm gonna work on it, but I know, like 1,500 a quarter. That we've been paying for a while. Yeah, it's pretty abusive, yeah. So, yeah, so I'll start with the items on the agenda. The first one is probably the biggest part of the meeting, which is a resolution to allow me, the executive director, to select vendors for the facade program, which you're gonna have Katie Kemp draw up. I told Katie just to wait till after this meeting, just to make sure that 100%, I didn't want to waste your time to do it if you guys had any apprehension as an executive committee, but just wanted to sort of show you with our new computer here, our new TV. This is the four that we have live right now. They're due May 30th. When you go into them, we've got it set up that there's carpentry, masonry, roofing, site work, and then an option for to bid the whole project, and then an option for them to bid the whole project or consider it for the components. With the theory that maybe somebody didn't want to do every part of the whole job because it's masonry, carpentry, roofing, and soft washing. And this specs that tap it together. Paul and I collaboratively put it into different trades so that maybe different tradesmen will be interested in bidding different parts of it. There are, in this case, there's four different components, and there's totally 13 sites, but there's 4 components of this, and there's 4 sites live right now. So you're talking about potentially 16 competitively bid components of just this particular round of facade program stuff that's due May 30th by the contractors. And of course, we could approve it by the board through our standard RFP process in the June meeting and then get it going. But the permutations are going to be the hard part. Whereas understanding, like, if somebody's working a component of, say, President's Street, and they want to do these two things, but somebody else is working a component of say the person that's working two components on President's Street wants to do masonry, and they want to do the carpentry work or the site work. And then somebody else wants to do the carpentry and the roofing, and they might have some overlap. Somebody wants to do the whole thing. I think communicating with the whole board and getting the group of, 10 individuals on the board to see how the numbers might work in every permutation might get a little cumbersome. That's the point of the resolution, is to allow me, of course, with Paul's guidance and help and Jamie's guidance and help to just communicate and figure that out without complicating it.
Yeah.
There's 4 parts, and no building is supposed to be getting more than 18,000. Of course, if something, if we're under budget on some, we can go a little higher on other ones. But the goal is the whole program to be under 180, which is what we work with TAP to do. So I would think that the resolution would be made to allow me to execute the contracts up to 180,000 for the whole project, and have to come to the board anything above that.
Well, potentially, if you didn't do that, the board would have to look at 13 times 4, potentially, okay, you can do that math. 52 different proposals. Right, and that's the
It
thing.
would just be a long meeting.
Yeah.
And it would be a couple $1,000 decision on a bunch of different things.
Right.
I have to say, we did the walkthroughs yesterday, and we had 10 contractors on each site. It was a show for the neighborhood, for them to see all these contractors taking notes and looking. It was great.
Local, downstate,
Yeah.
from all over.
We had people that did this part of our programs in the fall, where we had Pelco, we had Silvercrest, we had the guy who installed their security cameras down at 834 River Street. He was there. We had even Joe Whaley, our old lawn guy, who had done a lot of stabilization work, like boarding windows and stuff. He showed up, although he didn't bid the RFP for the lawns. He still showed up for this part. So we're able to get a lot of our old vendors. Folsom Construction was there, and so I feel like there's enough that there might be 4 or 5 different people on each, not on each site, but together collectively working on the 4 that we have here. And it's just understanding strengths and being careful to pick responsible people.
Sure, that's the other benefit of this, is breaking these down by trade. It's a hope that, for the painting, that we get the best painter. For the carpentry, we get the best carpenter. For roofing, we get the best roofer. And because a lot of these guys, just because you're a carpenter, that doesn't mean necessarily you're a painter and or a mason for that.
Mhm.
Yes.
I think because we're using LBI funds, we have to bid site specific. And I think originally TAP wanted to bid trade specific across the program, which we've only been approved for these. Well, we've been approved for 6, but 2 of them, there's some question on some of the work they want to have. We're just waiting to make sure there's funding for that kind of work before we make them live. So we want to do the ones that are home runs first. Stretch it. So
Katie will create a resolution for us,
yeah,
so we can vote on it.
yes, exactly.
I don't see that being an issue.
Great. And of course, again, we're right after the board meeting. Paul, Jamie, and I are going to Land Bank Association Conference. This is on there, Roof Folks 871 River Street, which was the last board meeting. But it came to my attention after we approved Allen Roofing that I tried to get all the documentation together for them, and they didn't have workers' comp. And so I said that if you don't have workers' comp, you can't do the project. You can't have workers without workers' comp. So we need to talk about that at the next board meeting.
Who was the next lowest? DM?
I think it was DMR.
Damn.
And so we can reach out to them and double check that they have workers' comp. We don't do the same thing where
Is reach out to them, see if they, make sure they have all their coverage and see if that number still stands.
Yeah.
If that number still stands, can a motion or a resolution be drafted?
yeah, we don't need a resolution. I think we just make a motion.
Make a motion to award to,
Mhm.
they are the second, and I think they were second by,
Only 3,000 or 2,000.
Yeah, it's
no, from third.
Oh, third was a great.
Yeah, that's, I mean, they were clearly second place.
Yeah.
clear.
So So I don't think the third place would even be considered.
Right, I mean, yeah, they're, again, 5,000 more than second.
That's, I mean, so
Right.
DMR,
So, I mean, we'll bring it up, I mean, I didn't know that, and, you know, I would assume that if the person bidding the head work.
Yeah, just-
Roofing company,
just make sure
DMR has it.
they have it and the number, yeah, if I make a motion to give it to DMR and I always find out next Monday that they don't have it and their number is
We'll get on that.
5,000 higher, we gotta come back.
The AmeriCorps was defunded by Doge, believe it or not. Just want to talk about that at the board meeting. We didn't have a committee meeting for A&D. 84 Ida Street, obviously has been a big deal, but it was sold. Great.
What did it sell for, do you know?
I think,
40,
45.
yeah, 40, 45. It was close to, it was,
well, we
it was
were,
close to what we were,
empowered up to 22.
yeah.
So-
It was
And
close to what a certain board member suggested we pay.
There you go.
So somebody overpaid, but at least Mr. Chapone's happy.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And I have to say, on the heels of the 84 Ida Street, Councilmember Casey got a hold of me and said that the Ogden neighborhood is actually, they're doing a volunteer inventory of all the vacant buildings. And I told the council person that if the land banks to do work on it or try to get any buildings, the people have to want to give up the title. If they don't give up the title and they want to kind of sit on it, then it's kind of on the cities and to put the pressure to make them want to give up the title.
And that's what I tried to explain to Sam about 86.
Yeah,
Because as it might look like it's vacant and as it might look like he wants to sell, I don't think.
well, I mean, I think as we do a better job, the city can essentially put pressure on in a way to feel like there is a buyer of last resort, somebody who will take it instead of feeling like if we put pressure, it's just gonna be another vacant structure that we have to deal with. If there's a solution to the vacant structure, then that's where I think the land bank comes in as a holistic approach to code
Sure.
and to the assessor's office and all. It helps to solve the city's problems. So, 332 9th Street, there was no news. Then there was a conflict of interest policy before Michelle went on maternity leave that she was working on, and I'm not sure that she's passing the baton to Katie. I think Katie's just gonna fill in until maternity leave's over, so we're probably gonna pick that up with Michelle. Of course, I already told you about the sale of 791 River Street, which was a standard thing. And then I guess the only other thing that's probably falls under new business is there was a settlement that we had between 785 River Street and 779 River Street owner. He claims, and very apologetically, actually, he came in with a check for the amount of money to clear the debris that was in the backyard. And he apologized and he said that, he didn't know his employees did that. And all my emails were going to his business partner, but that's not actually a legitimate business partner, just somebody who works with loosely. So he claims he's very apologetic about it. He came in, he dropped off the money that we paid to Tom Connolly Construction to clear the debris. And, again, he said he didn't know his employees did that and that the person I was contacting contacted him that he's partnered on projects with legal business partner. So, Katie Kemp, she drafted the settlement and we executed it, so.
Yeah, what was it?
Say it again?
What was the debris removal?
So if you recall,
785
at
River.
785 River Street, somebody.
No, 4,000.
Oh, we paid 4,000 to remove it. It was mostly like dirt and like asphalt,
And you reimbursed it.
and he reimbursed the exact amount of money that.
Then he moved that machine. right?
Yes,
Still
we
pulled the
moved it.
machine off. the
Still
building.
moved
It was leaning on our building, so,
No, he moved
yeah,
it.
it
Yeah,
was.
I made one phone call and he moved it.
Yeah, I think people are, and he was complimentary to the work we've been doing the last year. That's good. That's right. That's what I had for civilization.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's
The
certainly.
only, I just want to make two comments, because I've done this with my board as well, is, for the spending for the properties, for up to $18,000 each one.
Mhm.
What I would do is maybe offer up, instead of just a carte blanche, you know what I mean, approval, is maybe say it's up to $18,000 each property, and at each board meeting, I'll provide an update with what's been spent. You know what I mean? Like almost like a little bit of a summary review. You
Mhm.
guys do those anyway,
Mhm.
but I would offer that up.
Okay, yeah, I would. 18,000 was the application a year or two ago. I would probably want to have the wording to say something along the lines of the program shouldn't be more than $180,000. But the reason I say that is because if we spend a little less on, like some of the places, the people just want, probably $5,000 worth of work. And other places, TAP has it spec'd out to blow the budget of $18,000. I don't think they realize that, but I think Paul and I both agree that some of the places they're spec'ing out some pretty good work.
Sure.
So I would, if it ends up being 19 or 20 on something, we would end up not spending the grant money that the state gives us. So I kind of wanna, if it's okay with you guys, to have the 180 number instead of 18 per building, because we have 13 projects with 180,000, the average is about 11,000. But if we can do it right, we might be able to get, every ticket item for each of these buildings. But if we limit each building to 18,000, then we might not be able to spend all the money if way under on some, but we can't go over. I'm just thinking of that particular nuance.
I would come, as long as we do not go over that 180.
Mhm.
That 180 threshold
Mhm.
would be what my ask.
Me too.
Monica, thoughts on that? Okay. All right.
I mean, I don't know, some of that stuff, the 4 RFPs that are out now.
Yeah.
Those aren't $18,000.
That's my point.
No, that's what I was gonna say.
I don't think they are.
No, I know, they're
No,
not. They better not.
When we looked at all the scopes of these, and, in the original stuff, provided from CAP, some were asking for things on the back or a side of a building.
Yeah, but
The
that,
fact is, this is a facade
Yeah.
program,
Mhm.
and truly, when you dwindle it down, somebody who thought they, could qualify or get up to $18,000 worth of stuff, there's not that much on the facade.
I don't believe we should be going to the side or the back of the building just to reach that 18,000.
No, we're not. That's not.
This stuff right here is not, these 4 that you have presented and out to bid, not 18,000. So I think that's gonna allow you to, there might be some stuff that come up. When you get to some of this stuff, some other, even here, like you might uncover worms where, okay.
Yeah.
But. I think,
You got 2 square roofing, you got
Yeah.
some fascias off it on the face and the ridge there, and then you got a concrete slab that in my world would be like $4,000.
I think some of the bigger stuff is probably further down the pipeline, right?
That's
Getting
right.
approved by SHPO?
Yes.
We're approved 6 of the 13 sites, but 2 of the sites, so one of the sites, the building is adjacent to our vacant lot, the
So
3238.
you
Sixth
give them
Avenue.
the sign.
Well, we're not giving them the sign, but the building that we had there was demolished. And there's
Remnants.
the remnants of the brick are still there.
Yeah.
Our old building is
Yeah,
still
so,
attached, and if we don't at least take that part off and point up the edge, then potentially their building's destabilized because we didn't finish.
Well, we
demolishing.
did that.
Well, I don't know who, Monica might know who demolished the 4 buildings on Sixth Avenue because it was a circumstance that was very unique, and it was
Whether it was the land bank or it was the city, it's something
yeah.
we're responsible.
Right, and I think it's actually like our homepage. If you go to our homepage at the top, it's like these are the 4 buildings. I feel like that's what they are the ones that are demolished. Pretty unique in the service. I mean, they're beautiful buildings, but it was just one of them was bad and they were all attached to each other. So TAP is specking out like going down the side a little bit to stabilize or taking the bricks and this and that. And I'm like, if there's money at the end, it might be good to address that very nuanced thing, but that could be a $5,000 brick job.
Or more.
And they want paint on the front of the building, restoration of the carpentry and the corbels and the cornice. And so it's like, if that one's more than $18,000, then
So you
put
have,
it at the end.
so you have a plan for if we go, say you go, say these are all 10 grand.
Mhm.
Now you got 32 left over from these four.
Mhm.
Then you do have a plan to spend
Right.
where you can utilize that monies on other projects.
I think we're gonna spend the 180 without a doubt. That's why, I think in a different world, some architects, I don't know, sorry, I don't mean to broad brushstroke it, but some architects would just spec out the thing and let somebody bid it because it's easier.
Where'd the 18,000 come from?
It was just the way it was written originally. I'm not sure. But they might just spec out the whole project and say, bid this project. And then a general contractor would come in, bid it out, get the number, and then stub it out to the different components. And in essence, by us breaking it to the individual items, we're being the GC on the job, which allows us to get more done with less money because we have to manage multiple contractors. So me and Paul are actually taking on extra work in order to try to get more facade work done, actual boots on the ground work done, and let us do the planning job of executing the program. So it's a little bit extra, but at the same time, we're trying to stretch to 180, and we're trying to get some of the lower end, when I say lower end, like lower dollar figure projects done early, so we know what our budget would be for the end.
Moving
of it.
forward.
Yeah.
Are there any paintings?
Yeah, couple. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I like that.
Alright. If there's not, Monica, anything else? I think you had two things.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I like to update to the board
Okay.
because sometimes when you just say, hey, we're gonna give you like authority to do the 180 and just, we just need eyeballs back on it, at least
Yep.
the status update.
So we'll
every
do,
time.
do status updates on each of,
Each
The project.
every month, we'll just put. it
Yeah,
on
I
the
mean, I'm
page.
sure you're gonna have a sheet on property by property, like you've done for the other, like the LDI money, right?
Yep.
Like the stuff that you've done. So
Of course.
even if you continue that kind of a spreadsheet
Mhm.
and just show us that. I mean, you can have all your hidden stuff and all that the stuff that we don't necessarily, the finer details we don't necessarily need to see,
Mhm.
but at least that goes on the public record, right? Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like there's some transparency around how the monies are being spent, especially in today's day and age. I just want to make sure that, we're super transparent about what we're doing with all of the monies.
Yep.
okay, sounds good. So with that, we will set our date for our next committee meeting of June 13th.
Mhm. And Monica, are you gonna be here on Wednesday?
Be here on Wednesday. I could call in for the meeting.
I think, well, I think all we have is what I just discussed, so, welcome
No,
to
but if you, can you send me a Zoom link?
I can learn how to do that. I
Okay.
just asked that yesterday. Can you do Zoom on an owl? I said, I don't know yet. I'll have to learn. I can,
I mean, even if it doesn't matter, I can't vote. So, but because we're discussing monies, I think it's important that I be there for the conversation.
Sure.
okay.
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 Yeah.
But I can call in because I'll be in Canada at that point.
Oh,
Okay.
Kansas
It's-
City.
Is this your North American
it's a lot.
tour?
Week and a half.
all right.
My luggage goes everything from 103 degrees to 48.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's all good.
All right, we'll see you when you get back.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Motion to adjourn, right?
Yeah, can I get a motion to adjourn? Ryan? Ryan, can I second it?
Yeah. fair
I'll
enough.
second it. All in favor? Aye. None opposed? The meeting is adjourned.